The time has come for my September theater recap, which is a video where I share a theater review about every single show that I have seen within this month. I do this every single month, so if you're interested in other shows that I've seen this year, then check out the playlist below. This September, I needed to say goodbye to my favorite show of the year, which definitely warranted another theater visit. And if you follow my channel, you definitely know which show I'm talking about. If not, now is the time to subscribe. It is Evita. I managed to see Evita for the third time, and while the tickets were extortionate, I somehow managed to bag a 40 or 50 pound ticket. I was all the way up at the balcony, but that did not matter. I've seen the show, well, 2 times previously, so I kind of knew it very well, and I just wanted to be in the room as we're getting into the final week of the performances. The show closed on the 6th of September, and I also managed to go and see the balcony performance during the matinee show. I can wholeheartedly say that this has been my Evita summer. I wasn't a fan of Evita before, but once I've experienced this Jamie Lloyd production, I was completely turned into the biggest fan of the show, of the score. The fan of Rachel Zegler I've always been, but this definitely solidified that. This show also introduced me to some amazing stars that I didn't know about, such as Diego Andres Rodriguez, who was playing Che, and James Olivas, who was playing Perón, as well as Bella Brown, who played the mistress, but she was also the alternate for Evita, and plenty of other amazing cast members, because every single one of them is such a star on its own, and they all worked so perfectly together. And you can check out my full review of this show if you are interested in it. This is a show that is written by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. It's been written, well, a long time ago, but with this new production by Jamie Lloyd, it definitely has found its resonance with the modern audiences. The storyline of this musical follows Evita Perón, who was the first lady of Argentina during the late 40s and early 50s. She was married to Juan Perón, who was the president of Argentina, and he was known for the movement known Peronism, who was catering to working classes. And the two of them have created a very strong populist movement in Argentina, which had some benefits, but also a lot of illegal ways of silencing the opposition. And they are definitely not the couple who is adored in Argentina. It's the story that has 2 sides of the coin, and we are getting to experience kind of both of them in this musical. Rachel Zegler really showcased her incredible talent in this role, and she was fascinating to watch. The vocal technique and skill and ease that she used to deliver this character was absolutely mind-blowing, and seeing it 3 times is not enough. I honestly wish that this was recorded and we can get a pro shot. I know that there's a cast recording coming up, so this is something to look forward to. And it is also heavily speculated that this show will make its way to Broadway in 2026. There is no confirmation about this, but I think knowing how Sunset Boulevard, also that was done by Jamie Lloyd, had first London run and then New York run, I think that it is to be expected. So if you're based in the States, it is very likely that you're gonna get to see Evita. And while you can't see this show anymore, you can definitely listen to Don't Cry For Me Argentina and Rainbow High, which are currently released on Spotify. And like me, you can just look forward to the cast recording, which will be released hopefully later this year, fingers crossed. The second show I managed to see in September is The Producers. This show is a Western transfer from a production that originated in Many a Chocolate Factory. It has received great reviews across the board, and it has earned its place in the West End, where it's going to be performing now until early 2026, so you still have a fair amount of time to see it. While The Producers has become a Broadway classic over the years, it was actually first penned down as a movie in 1967 by Mel Brooks, who is an American playwright and actor and comedian, and he is known for a very much over-the-top comedy and parody, and this is what you can expect if you go to see this musical. The storyline follows 2 Broadway producers, well, technically 1, who was a big name, and then his reputation tanked, and he was basically just struggling to make ends meet, and he was looking for a way to make some quick money. And when his accountant, Leo Bloom, came to do his books, basically he said that if he was to make a guaranteed flop and oversell the shares, he would be able to earn a lot of money on the back of it. And from there onwards, they go on to find the worst script that they can possibly find, and there is the one that seems that fits the bill perfectly, and it is Springtime for Hitler, which is a musical about Hitler. And once the script is sorted, they go on to find creatives who can help them develop the show, and they reach out to Roger Debris to be their director, who ultimately accepts. And then also there's Ulla, who is this beautiful Swedish actress who Leo Bloom falls for, and they're slowly starting to build this community of people who are going to put together this show. And this is a typical play within a play type of musical and show, so they do put this together, and then you get to see really hilarious renditions of famous numbers such as Springtime for Hitler. Well, this story isn't everyone's cup of tea, and personally I'm not that fond of it. I do think that this production has quite a few things that are going in its favor, and firstly it is the duo who are portraying Max Bialystock and Leo Bloom. Max Bialystock is portrayed by Andy Nyman and Leo Bloom was portrayed by Mark Antolin, and the two of them have such an amazing chemistry together, and they feel so comfortable in their roles and in their partnership and the playfulness they bring to the stage that you can really tell that they have been performing this show for a while. And then Roger Debris, who is another pivotal role in this show, is portrayed by Ashley Trevor, who really takes this ridiculous character over the top and makes it even more hilarious. But there were literally people who couldn't stop laughing during his portrayal of some of the key moments in the show. There are plenty of other amazing cast members, so I think that the company of this show is so worth a watch, even if you're not really sold on the storyline. I think it's one of those shows that if you like this storyline and you like the humor that Mel Brooks normally brings, and you consider it a classic, or maybe you've seen the movie, you're gonna enjoy this show so much. If you're on the spectrum of people who maybe doesn't like glitzy and silly musicals, then it probably is the one for you to sit out, but if you're interested, you can check it out until 21st of February at the Garrick Theatre. Your girl got invited to a press night at Brixton House to see a new musical called Black Power Desk, and this is one of my favorite shows that I have seen this month. It is so unique and so good and so addictive in terms of the music that I am hoping that this show will transfer to the West End at some point. The story of this musical follows two sisters, Celia and Dina, and it is set in 1970s London during the British Black Power movement. The musical is also inspired by real events of the Mangrove 9 trials that follow 9 individuals who were wrongly accused of wrongdoings one day in 1970 in front of this restaurant called Mangrove in Notting Hill, and after 51-day trial their charges were dropped, and this was the first time that unfair treatment by the British police was recognized, that it was on a racial basis. So this is a musical that has a lot of impact to bring this to life and showcase how turbulent these times were and how unfair the system was treating people who were trying to stand up for their rights and bring the community together. The best thing about this musical is definitely the music. It has reggae, hip-hop, R&B, ska, a lot of amazing tunes that are literally making you hard to stay in your seat still. It was a great atmosphere, everyone was clapping, and also this cast has amazing voices and delivery. And I definitely need to call out Rochelle Rose, who is playing Celia. She is one of the key characters, one of the sisters, and her role is very nuanced because she's a little bit on the edge of this movement, and obviously she's there to support her community and stand up for the rights of her community, but at the same time she doesn't want to be the one who is at the front and center of it, whereas her sister Dina, played by Veronica Carabai, is very much at the forefront of it and leading this, and she's very much living and breathing this activism, and that is one of the key clashes between the two of them. But not only that, they're also both dealing with the death of their mother, and both of them have like different coping mechanisms, and this is really causing the two of them to grow distant. It is an emotional roller coaster because it really focuses on the relationship between the two of them, but also the relationship within the community and how different streams of influence can really make this seemingly coherent community fall apart and then, you know, is afterwards brought close together and united by the same goal. This show already got extended. It was meant to finish on the 21st of September, but now you can see it until the 3rd of October. So by the time you see this video, it might be only a few days left. But if you can get down to Brixton to see it, then I think you definitely should, because it is an amazing piece of theater. The 4th show that I have seen in September is Every Brilliant Thing, and I am not the same person after I've seen the show, because I have got to understand how innovative playwriting can be and how fantastic audience participation can be. Also, this is an incredibly positive show about something that is very sad, and that is depression and mental health issues and growing up with a parent who has mental health issues, but it's told through such a lens that makes it so human and so everyday that it removes that stigma around conversations about mental health. And I think this is all due to impeccable writing by Duncan Macmillan, who is one of my favorite writers, I'd say, because I have seen People, Places and Things, which is also an amazing show by him. And then I've seen Lungs as well. And I think every single play that I have seen that's written by Duncan Macmillan, there is another level of experiencing theatre involved. So I do definitely credit him with a lot of what's happening on stage and how this is possible to be such an impactful show. He's also the director of the show alongside Jeremy Herring, and actually Johnny Donahoe, who is a comedian and who has performed the show for many, many years, has also had his role in delivering this West End version of it. And also Johnny Donahoe is one of the rotating cast who is getting to perform this for the West audiences as well, alongside Lenny Henry, Ambika Maud, Sue Perkins, and Minnie Driver. So depending on who you are into out of these actors, then you can kind of pick and choose and go and see them. But honestly, I do think that doesn't matter who delivers this show, is going to be a success because of the way that it's written and because of the topic that it discusses. I went to see it with Ambika Maud, who you might know from One Day, which was a Netflix hit series, and I really wanted to see her live on stage because I really like her quirky and such natural way of delivering the humor that she normally has in her roles, and this was definitely the case for the role that she portrayed in Every Brilliant Thing. The storyline follows this person who we meet when they're 7 years old, and she gets to learn that her mom is not really feeling well and not coping that well, and she tried to take her own life. And from there onwards, she starts writing this list of brilliant things that make life worth living. And this list goes on, and she shares this with her mom, and it becomes this thing that it's keeping the protagonist going throughout the show. But the beauty of this show is that not only the actor gets to tell the story, but also the audience. And I think saying audience participation is a little bit of doing it disservice, because I think a lot of people don't like that in shows, but it is done so cleverly and everyone on every level was involved to a certain degree, and this makes it such a community show and something that you really feel part of through and through. And there are some really emotional moments that are emotional because of how the audience on that night really feels about experiencing this together, and no show can be the same. This show is on until the 8th of November, and I cannot recommend it enough. If you're in for a quick show that will boost the way that you feel and make you positive about life, about community, about people you're surrounded with, then make it this one. It's so worth it. I've seen so many good shows in September, and Punch is definitely one of them. It is a show that should come with a bit of a warning because it's a tough subject that it addresses, and it will definitely be triggering for some people, but it's done so spectacularly and is bringing a lot of humanity to something that was a very sad and disturbing event. Punch is based on true events of one night when Jacob Dunn, when he was out with his friends, punched James Hodgkinson and killed him. It was a one punch that ended it all. And this place tries to balance very well what preceded it and how has Jacob come to be in such position, as well as the recovery and what happened after this fatal event that has marked both Jacob and James's family for the rest of their lives. It is a story that puts at the center of the conversation the services that are available or not available to people, and dives deep into Jacob's background to help us understand basically the fabric of his mind and approval that he was maybe seeking from his friends, or how he came about to be that night where he was. But actually even more powerful story is the story about James's parents, who are trying to grieve their son by enrolling restorative therapy. And what this program does is it brings together the perpetrator, Jacob, and the victim's parents, Joanne and David, and it facilitates the conversation between the two of them. Obviously, they both needed to agree for this to happen, and this first started as a series of emails and messages, and then there is a moment when they actually meet face to face, and from there they move on to raising awareness about One Punch, because there are actually 80 to 90 mighty fatalities of the past 5 years that have come on the back of just one punch. But the most beautiful thing about this show is that it really focuses on compassion and the impact that people can have on each other, and how a big heart and forgiveness can take someone a long, long way. Jacob was a troubled young boy who had his life turned around not just by this event, but by compassion and genuine interest by these people who were probably the least likely to be the people who are going to help him. Their forgiveness and interest in his life were what propelled him to actually finish the school, graduate in criminology, start doing talks and raising awareness about the cause, and is living the life that is honoring James and reminding people of him in the most beautiful way. Given that this story happened in Nottingham, this is where the play originated, but then it moved to Young Vic, where it had a great success and everyone was raving about it. So now in the West End you can see it until the 29th of November at the Apollo Theatre, and you won't regret it. This is a powerful and punchy watch, but it's the one that you should not miss. And the last show that I went to see in September is Lady from the Sea. This is a star-studded cast led by Oscar-winning Alicia Vikander. She's starring opposite of Andrew Lincoln, who is playing Edward, and Joe Alwyn is playing Heath. And this is a story about marriage, relationships, past traumas, and how people deal or not deal with them. In case of Elida, who is Alicia's character. While all eyes might be on Alicia Vikander, I was actually really blown away by Andrew Lincoln's performance, and he is portraying Elida's husband Ed, and in his role he's trying to strike a balance between being a father to 2 teenage daughters, being a husband to Elida, also being a person whose wife passed away, and then also he's a doctor and he's trying to keep it all together, but slowly he is getting to the point of breaking because of something that happens, which I'm not going to spoil in case you're planning to see this show. But where this show is excelling is probably the set design solutions, because this is the first time that I have seen a proper pool on stage, and I'm not exaggerating. There is a moment in the show when Ed, Andrew Lincoln's character, is actually swimming, and I think this is one of those moments in the theater where you're like, how did they do it? They also have a lot of scenes where it's like raining, and obviously from the title there is a big element of the sea and water that is linked to help the story, and just this element of maybe all of these characters drowning a little bit in their own lives. I think from the perspective of the storyline, I wasn't completely sold, because it feels a little bit disjointed, and this might be due to direction or due to the way that it is set in this particular theater. It feels that there are nuggets of each of character's storyline that are brought together, but maybe it just doesn't feel that there is a flow of how they all take you as a spectator to this place where you kind of have that aha moment. It just feels a little bit like you're kind of intruding on someone's life and seeing how they're all getting on or like not getting on, and how Elida, Alicia's character, is just a troubled, still fairly young woman who hasn't really gone through her trauma, and she is in this house now where she's meant to be a wife and a stepmom to these daughters, and she's not really finding her feet in this situation, and ultimately it leads to her choosing something else. And there are definitely interesting elements of the story, but out of all shows that I have seen in September, I think this is probably the one that has made me the least excited despite of such an amazing cast. So I think it really depends on which type of theater goer you are. This is more a contemporary modern story. It is about relationships. It is about psychological trauma. It is about women's agency in relationships. So it has definitely that modern twist. So if you're more into things like that and you're really keen to see any of the people in the cast, I think it's a good show to check out. If you're looking into something that will make you feel things on a deeper level, then I think some other shows that I have talked about, such as Punch, Every Brilliant Thing, would definitely be better shows for you to see until the end of the year. You can see this play at the Bridge Theatre until the 8th of November, so if it sounds like something you might be interested in, then make sure to check it out. This wraps up my shows for September, and if you are still here, thank you for watching. If you're interested in checking out other shows that I have seen over the previous months, then check out this playlist. And if you want to know more about my favorite theaters in London, then this is the video for you.